I used to use a cassette recorder with the towel on top, just
Oh,
middle of
okay.
the practice room, and then like play it back in the parents' car and just be like, "Yeah, we're the best." Like it's stupid. Yeah, get that all the time.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. I'm sitting down with Minnesota's hottest new band vocalist, Arrold from the band Rot. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And, I'm trying to add this new segment on the podcast as far as I'm calling it the Scoped Exposure Bev Check zone. So as we enter, I wasn't recording yet, but tell the people at home what you're drinking.
It's called Wild Basin. It's melon basil, like it's sparkling cider, basically.
Yeah, and it sounds unreal. I just got a Rain Energy drink because I am really feeling it. Once you hit that 2 p.m. like just fatigue, so
The
I'm
crash
gonna
starts.
I'm gonna crack this and we'll get going if I can get
Heck
my
yeah!
fingers on it.
You want to cheers with this? Like, should
Oh,
we
of
tap the
course, brother.
screen?
Let me make sure that this doesn't fizz over. All right, cheers.
Perfect. Boom.
Love that. So, Harold, before we get started, can you just give me a proper introduction of the band you're part of, where you're based, and we'll get into it.
Yeah. I'm Arrold Walton. I'm the vocalist of Rot, and yeah, we're based in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And you guys just put out a new album called As One. I don't know if you need to have that delayed as one just because there's a dot dot dot.
Right.
But I was looking it up today, and I realized that Metallica's "And Justice for All" has that dot dot dot. So I was
Yep.
like, oh, okay. So I don't know if there's any others, but you guys might be the only two that have a dramatic pause before the actual album
Dramatic
title.
pause.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think anybody else has caught the dramatic pause. It's just, oh yeah, that as one thing. It's like, no, it's as one. No, I'm just kidding.
That's so sick. Well, Harold, as far as how I normally like to intro all our guests is just getting some context about how they got into hardcore or just DIY music in general. I'm a firm believer in just context matters as far as how those formative years and all those moments really played a part in putting us here together in this
Right.
podcast. So let's go back in time. Tell me about your first memories of hardcore and how that put you on the track that you're on.
Sweet. I've been doing bands and music since I was very young, but like my first band I was in, I was like 14. I think the band name was like Diet Pills for One or something like that. And I was playing guitar, and it was like it was like, how fast can we play music? How loud can we be? I think we had like crate full stacks or something like that, just
Yeah.
like obnoxious for being 14 years old. Um, and just started there, and like that was definitely more punk oriented. It was like just fast paced circle pits, studded belts, things like that. And then I think I went to a show when I lived in California, because I moved out here about 2 years ago. um and it was, I don't remember what band it was. And that's probably the deal breaker with the whole thing. But like, I just remember people swinging their arms around, and I was like, "What is happening?" Like, these guys are like, there's breakdowns. It's heavy, but it's also like still has that like punk feel to it. And someone was like, "Yeah, this is hardcore. This is what it's all about." And I'm like, I would like to start trying to learn how to do this, because it went from just power chords to like intricate songwriting, and like, I don't know, it was still based on feel, so the transition was really nice. And just been doing that in different bands since 14, like I said.
I don't think I've ever heard someone say going into hardcore was like, oh, there's all this intricate songwriting, because arguably there's like people
There's
like,
not a lot.
yeah. No, but I think you're right, is that the maybe it's very simply like broken down as far as like not trying to, you know, a lot. I feel like um music genres like gent or anything that's super like mathy, just like it
Yeah,
loses people because it's like there is a there needs to be a very basic nature, not like caveman, because then you're just gonna think of the ooga booga, like ooh. Um, but there needs to be a simple nature as far as like understanding, like okay, this is a fast part. Here's the chorus breakdown. Like those things, like
exactly.
really, really matter for sure.
Right. And like I said, it's all based on feel. So like if you feel this riff needs to end and go into something, I don't know, like for me personally, like punk was just as many notes as you can in like a short amount of time, cram it in there and just like put it out to the world, you know. And like with this is like, well, does it feel right? You know, like does it groove? Does it have, I don't know, emotion? Like are the lyrics gonna carry to the next part? It was like really eye opening. And I know a lot of people would be like, well, that's weird, but that's just what happened for me.
Yeah. No, I hard want to echo that. Just the one of the very first hardcore shows I ever went to was this melodic hardcore band from up here in Canada called Means. I don't know if you ever listened to them or
Memes, dude, yes. They
dude,
were sick.
so good. I had the pleasure of seeing it was their very last Winnipeg show, so 2008, and it was just like kids. Like the thing that probably cemented everything that I love about hardcore is like people climbing on top of one another just to grab the mic and say a couple lines. So like, you know, I want to echo as far as like does the song feel right? Does it have that energy, that passion, that drive?
Hmm.
That all plays a part for sure.
Amen. Yeah, I like that.
So you said you grew up originally in California and started playing music, and then moved to uh, Minnesota, Minneapolis. I'm not sure what the exact city where you're at right now.
Minnesota's the state. Minneapolis is the city that I live in.
Gotcha. What part of
Yeah.
California did you grow born raised in? I guess.
Born and raised in San Diego, California. So like
Gotcha.
you know, it's always sunny compared to here where it's like
Oh,
6 months
dude.
of winter.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but like yesterday was like there was parts of Alberta that like got snow for the first time, and I'm just like, oh,
Ugh.
like
Oh,
it's coming.
that terrifies me. That like man, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, I will say the last time I was down in Minneapolis was for Snow and Flurry, and there was people being like, "Oh, it's snowing." I'm like, I came from way like further away where there's way more snow in late November or what, whenever it was. But
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like when you grow up in California, you're just you realize how good the weather situation is down there.
You take it for granted while you're there just because everything's so expensive and like vast and you're just like wow this is going to last forever and then you move to a place that's like you're going to get seasonal depression because like there's no sun for 6 months and you're like okay yeah that's great thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain Netflix shows that me and my wife will watch exclusively during the winter months just because we're like, no, we need this to like carry us through at least a couple weeks. Because there's
Right,
enough
yeah.
seasons. Um, what were you kind of established in both cities to kind of see the difference between like California hardcore or DIY music to Minneapolis and the more Midwest area?
Yeah, but even before I moved here, the band that I was in is called Silencer. It's SLNCR,
Okay.
is the like abbreviation for it, but they're still doing things. And coming from that, which is more along the lines of like metalcore to this scene, like I think Minneapolis has not even Minneapolis, like the Minnesota music scene is like super well like organized and put together. Like there's so many shows that are happening that's not just hardcore. It's like, we played with like rappers and stuff before, and there's like bigger shows that are now like that. And it's really cool to just be like, all right, they're playing music, let's go. Like
Yeah.
let's run over there and like check it out. And not only get to appreciate the music that you're there for, but like the other genres as well. And I don't know. I think it's really sick.
Yeah, no, I am a huge supporter of the Midwest scene. I would 100% be coming down for Snow and Flurry again, probably to film it, but that's probably not in the cards as of right now, and I think that's fair to say.
Right.
um, So let's talk about your band Rot. I actually found out about you guys through shout out to Alex. I know he's listening. But you know, me and Alex have been pretty connected just through the other bands that he was drumming in, Swing Low, War Prayer as well, because he was very psyched that I could come down there to capture his last set, and then it was like, oh, here's my. It's just like 3 bands minimum for that dude. It seems like all the
Right.
time. But
Always busy. Always busy.
always busy. But yeah, as far as so Rot is a fairly new band as far as my research goes, and you guys put out like a 2-song demo, and then like
Right.
jumped straight to the LP. So definitely want to talk about that, but maybe just tell me like the origins of how Rot came together, and you know any memorable things of what you guys wanted to do once you guys formed up.
All right. Well, I moved out here 2 years ago because the bass player in Rot, Jake Watson, he was I backtrack. Okay, so we lived in the same. He lived in San Diego as well, and we were both recording engineers and producers in California. And he moved here for school, and that was like what 6, 7 years ago now. And he was just like, "Bro, it's so cool out here. Like, just move out. Like, whatever." I was going through some stuff, and decided to just be like, "All right, I'm gonna move halfway across the world for me, I guess." And moved in with him in St. Paul, and we were in another band that was doing things, but wasn't doing what I wanted to do, which was like harder music, and just started writing in the basement, just like recording on his computer because he's still an audio engineer here and producer, and just he'd go to bed and be like, all right, I'm gonna go on the computer, write music, and um, like had 2 songs just demoed out, and we're like, all right, let's find musicians and let's see if we can like do some stuff with this. And with Jake not only being an audio engineer and a bass player, he went on tour with War Prayer, which is Alex's other band, and or was Rip. But yeah, so like it was just like, yo, play this, and it was like getting members from different projects and just forming Rot, and then yeah, just releasing the 2 songs that we demoed out in the basement, and then just playing shows as often as we could, obviously before COVID happened, and then um, kind of running those 2 songs into the ground. Um, and then like just releasing an album after like a year and some change of writing.
Yeah. Did you guys play anything off of As One, I guess, like prior? Because that's always the thing where it's like, if you're locally with a band and they're doing a release, it's like, oh yeah, like a lot of these people have heard these songs so many times at shows. Like, if I'm speaking for myself, like all the end game material when we dropped that, like they were all those songs are like a year old. So I was like, I'm eager to get to new stuff. But was that kind of the same thing where there was a couple songs that you guys were playing live leading up to like,
Right,
okay,
yeah.
let's record it?
So we released those 2 songs, and finding, like, in that process of finding new members and stuff, we're like, okay, now we have to write a few more so we can start playing shows and get a little bit of like aggression out and whatnot. So um with writing songs, I think the first one we wrote from that LP, or from the LP that just released, was As One.
Oh, okay.
And it's like so that was like the first song we wrote other than the 2 that we released, and then played shows and added more new songs, and like had stuff we were working on. We're like, okay, let's try it live, see if it works well. If it doesn't, we'll scrap it. And yeah, just went through it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, the constant process of bands writing new material it's always an interesting thing, being someone that documents music, because I get to maybe see a number of different variations of a song as they're being tried out in a live setting.
Right.
I see some bands now doing it a little bit more like, we got to keep it so under wraps until it
Keep it
comes
on the
out, and then it's
hush.
like
Yeah.
all new content. So yeah, it's
Right.
but I agree with you. Sometimes you play a song live and you think it's the sickest shit in the jam space, and then it's like, This isn't really going over as I thought.
Nobody vibed with this. Okay, maybe we should. And it's not like we write songs for people, like we write it for ourselves, but like there's a difference when you like you were saying, if you hear a song live and you hear it on an album or you hear it recorded, because we like demoed everything we did. And I think it was like, this is cool recorded. Let's see if it has the same weight when we played it live. And if it didn't, for not only us, but like the people who were watching or the people we're playing to, um, it was just like, all right, we can do better. Like, let's try and up it every time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always this process of like, I feel like every band that you're a part of always propels you to just think more critically and be better at that process of writing another album for another band or whatever it is. So
Right.
so like I said, you guys put out two songs and then it was like straight into the LP. What was your guys' biggest reason for not doing a demo, EP, something in the middle? Because I thought that was pretty interesting that you guys are like, two songs. All right, let's times that by 6.
You're right. um, Originally, it was supposed to be an EP, and I think like just every band that I had been in, other than one or maybe two, like released an album, and it was always like that's 6 songs, and you have those 6 songs for 6 months to a year, and like we did that with the first two. Like we took the first two, released them, and then we had this huge gap of no material released, and we're just like, let's just keep writing, like let's just keep and we like songs that weren't even released or aren't even songs. There's like 5 or 6 of them after the 10 that we put out,
Yeah.
and it was just like, let's get enough material and then choose the ones that were like, mint. Let's get them to a point where they're gonna not be like weird oddballs out, because we don't want a lot of those, but like have it so it's like, this is what the sound is, and let's move on from there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of flow from each song as far as just the overall like, okay, we're in the super like heavy like two-steppy kind of song, and then like there is a lot of melodic nature to some of the tracks as well. Um, I know you shared this like just before we got on the call here, but one of my personal favorites on the album is Empty Hope. And you were just posting about just like Suicide Prevention Week and how that was a very important song to you. Do you want to take a minute just to talk about that song and maybe any others on the album that kind of ring that much more true for you?
Yeah. It's a personal song about just kind of witnessing a friend go through those motions of, pretending that they're fine and being the person that was there. It's a lot. I don't know. It's lyrically, it's just from that perspective of being the one to find the person um committing suicide, and like to find them in that state of mind and to find them just gone. And Yeah, with it being Suicide Prevention Week and everything else, it's so weird because like I shared it thinking, that I don't want people to hear lyrics and be like, this is what this is about. I kind of want people to have their own interpretation on them. But also like I want to be a little bit personal, and stuff. So I don't know. It's a very personal song, and I just want people to like, with each song and lyrically, I want to spread awareness on certain things.
Yeah.
And for that one, it was definitely like, check on your friends, like bottom line, you know.
Yeah, and I did a podcast with Aram from this band in Vancouver called Change, and we talked about lyrics as far as like, do you want to be super like vague where it could be applied to a number of different things, or do you want to be hyper specific? I don't know if you fuck with Kublai Khan from like Texas, but there's like specific songs where it's like, this song is about this person. I name drop this person in that
Right.
song, and like for me as a listener, I was like, that's actually really sick. Not like I'm Googling this person and finding out what they did.
What did he do? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. But
Right.
I think like I I do agree that there is a little bit of, I'm right like you said, not writing music for other people, but creating it open enough for people to to take something and find their truth in it in their specific lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So talking about the LP, you guys, you guys kind of did you do a proper like studio kind of recording session? Because I was seeing snippets and teasers through the band account through Alex, and you were mentioning Jake is doing, he was involved from a production standpoint as well. But do you want to talk about just like how you guys kind of map that out? Because recording the amount of songs that you did, like obviously that takes time and figuring out, just progressing songs as they go along. So
Right. Um, well, yeah, my first year living here, I lived with Jake, which is, the engineer producer, um, for heavy music, metal music, all music, I guess. But being able to have access to his computer and his studio monitors and like to plug in a guitar and just be like, yo, check this riff out, or vice versa, or have one of the guitar players be like, yo, check this riff out, and us to demo it out and then piece songs together and then try and play them in like the practice room, and then go through that. We engineered we tracked and engineered everything ourselves. So like the drums were tracked in our practice space, and like guitars were DI'd in Jake's basement, and then we reamped afterwards, and then I tracked vocals at the practice space. Like we
yeah,
just we just all work really well together, and we just wanted to get it as clean as possible, but without going to another place where we have to outsource and spend money on time and have to worry about that. We're just like, let's just do it ourselves. Let's take our time. Let's get it to where we want it.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah. Having a person in the band that has those resources and assets is like it is huge. Because
golden.
yeah, and there is something to be said with going off site, call it, to a recording place, maybe traveling to record somewhere, and having a unbiased mind in the room to be like, well, what if we did this riff differently? So there is something to be said about that. But the true DIY nature of majority of hardcore is like doing it in those unconventional studio studio environments and still producing a good of a product.
Right.
Yeah, definitely like technology has progressed a lot in the sense of making things sound very, very mint in that sense versus like, I don't know, recording something on an iPhone that's covered in a blanket.
Dude, I used to, when I first started, I don't want to like tell people how old I am, but like I used to use a cassette recorder with the towel on top, just
Oh,
middle
okay.
of the practice room, and then like play it back in the parents' car and just be like, yeah, we're the best. Like, it's stupid.
That's awesome. So something I wanted to ask is I noticed on the LP that there's a number of different samples, and you know like Endgame, my band is pretty like on our demo we threw a lot of different samples on there. I don't think necessarily a lot were trying to be super serious because like there's everything from Alien to Fast and Furious. But it seems like you guys definitely had pulled some stuff from that definitely was more on the serious, maybe even political side of things. And I don't know if those were intentional as far as like building almost like a story around certain songs. So I know like the tracks that I have written down here were Overdrive, Ask, and then surprisingly when I was listening to the whole album Spirit, but you guys didn't record have the sample when you did it as a single. So maybe
Right.
talk to me about the intention and the why behind some of those choices.
Yeah. They're definitely, especially from like older bands that I was in, they're definitely on the serious side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not to be like, this is what this is about, but to definitely paint a picture of like where I was when I was writing the lyrics.
Oh, okay.
Um, so as far as like the intro goes, it's uh it's a skit from a movie that Woody Allen's in, and it's basically talking about him attempting to commit suicide. And lyrically, that song, from my perspective in writing it, was just having the weight of the world on you and trying to escape those thoughts of like, should I do it, shouldn't I do it, and kind of overcoming it and like seeing the light at the end of it. And um I don't know, I think that a lot of the samples that we chose definitely painted like I guess the roadmap to
Sure.
to the songs. But like with Spirit, we were going to release it with the sample, and to be honest, we weren't even going to do like a music video for it. But just wanted to get music out and just be like, hey, we're going to release music, just because with everything going on over here with, the death of George Floyd and the protests and whatnot. We didn't want anything to be centered around us. Like, we're not gonna. Here's a visual of us doing music. Like, we're just going to release it as like the album, and we were like, maybe we should kind of prep people for the release. And instead of having a sample at the end or the beginning and the end of the song, it was like, okay, let's just put the music out, and then it'll be something for the album, like something a little bit more for that song.
Yeah. No, I thought that was a interesting take as far as like, because it's always the thing. It's like, oh, here's the song that I've already heard before, but as soon as it started, it
Right.
was like, oh, there is something new on here to discover. Was that song named after? I don't know the dude's name in the sample. Um,
Dawn Spirit, yeah.
yeah, so it is named. Is it named after him,
Um,
or was
it's
it just
called
kind of like a
Spirit.
coincidence?
It's um, it's about the song lyrically is about domestic abuse, and um, in that the phone call beginning and end is, yo, I killed my daughter and all my grandkids, and when the police get here, I'll kill myself. And um, it, the lyrics perspectively is like, when you're the one being abused in one of those relationships, like it's you have those fleeting thoughts of like, I want to take my own revenge. Obviously, you seek help and get through it. But like, just to have it from that perspective of like, what if, I guess. And um when naming it, I was like, you know what, I spent like the last part of the lyrics is, I set my spirit free, and I was like, all right, let's just call it Spirit. And then it just worked well with like the sample and everything else. So
Was that sample something that you found like locally? Because sometimes I'm always curious on how people are finding some of these samples. Because you can't just type in like guy calling 911 who killed his kid, like that doesn't
right.
exist. But it's more in the moments of like you're chilling at home and you're watching a movie and then someone says something
Right.
and you're like, yo. So
Honestly, I go down a lot of like YouTube rabbit holes.
same.
And I think one of them was like top 10 eerie like 911 calls or something like
Oh
that. And like,
yeah.
yeah, and it was, I think, one of the last ones, and it was like, obviously the clip's a lot longer than the snippets that we used, but like, just creepy stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and I remember hearing that and being like, wow, that is like, that is pure hate. Like, that is like, I don't know why more people don't know about this. Like, that was my first reaction to it.
Yeah.
And kind of presented it to the band as we're still writing, and just be like, yeah, well, I think we should talk about this topic and use this. And they were like, yeah. Like, I love my band for that, because they're like, yeah, whatever you want to do, like, we support it, let's go.
Yeah. No, that's always sick. I think that there's sometimes a challenge with like on the vocal side as far as like someone either has it and it's like whatever this person does, like that's the move. I've been in bands where sometimes it's just like, okay, like vocals sound great, but like it sounds like 50, it's at like 50%. Can you add a couple more lines as far as like filling in
Right.
stuff? So it's hard to balance, but yeah, when you got it for sure. Um, so so I this isn't on my list, but you brought it up just as far as like YouTube rabbit holes. I'm not sure if there's because I'm always curious. As soon as you brought that up, I was like thinking about like what my YouTube rabbit hole is currently as far as just algorithmically what's being
Right.
fed my way. It's a lot of Halo Master Chief Collection, like 13-second clips of like just
uh,
whatever. So I'm curious what's on your recommended for YouTube right now.
Um, dude,
That's a pretty
it's
like out of nowhere question, but
honestly, it's a mix from like film photography, like stuff from different like I shoot film and I'm starting to like get into film photography. So like my YouTube is just, you know, self-develop, self-scan, like all of that stuff. And then you have on the other side of it like chill hip hop, like beats to study to, because like I'll edit photos of, you know, stuff that I've done and like just be jamming out, or like I don't know, live videos from different bands. Like it's a mix of all of my likes, I guess. I don't know.
so you fuck with chill hop pretty heavily, I'm
Chill
guessing.
hop. Yeah,
I
heavy.
found when that I found that when it was just like this unheard of thing. It's like, what do you mean? There's like a live stream of just like really light like hip hop music, and now I just see it everywhere. I see so many playlists. It's either like a
It's sick.
raccoon or a girl studying,
Oh my,
walking through
yes,
the
with the
rain.
little coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how that
Love
just
that.
came up there. So obviously, I wanted to chat about, because you are from the Minnesota, Minneapolis area. That was kind of a an origin spot when it came to a lot of the current Black Lives Matter affairs. And yeah, I wanted to talk about that, what your thoughts are on it. Just being someone who was maybe like way more like this hits close to home in ways I never had imagined. But yeah, if you want to just tell me what your thoughts were when that happened, and if any of that um, influenced the album, either lyrically, musically, what you guys wanted. Because I know even when you guys were dropping it, you guys were talking about like donating a portion of the profits to different charities, and I was like, that's so sick. Even months after that happens, where like not as many people are making those benefit shirts, doing raffles and things of that nature. So
Right. I wouldn't say what happened um influenced us as far as like, you know, music writing or lyrically, but I do, because even with the Nothing Changed demo that we put out, um, our stand from the beginning has been, you know, ACAB, fuck cops, like we don't need them. And just like with the new release, it's still the same vision. As far as when it happened, how we were like feeling collectively as a band, not only just myself, but we were all furious. I remember waking up when it happened, just being like, I moved here, like you can't escape it anywhere you go, um, and just uh, I don't know. We wrote the remainder of the record after we had moved out, and like me and Jake stopped living together, like 10 blocks, I want to say, from where it happened. Um,
yeah.
so like I don't know, it was very, it hit home really hard, but we have been the same since like before that happened, like as far as lyrically and what we stand for and what we believe in.
Yeah. As far as like, doing different things, I was trying to find a way that Scoped can kind of like highlight Black lives and give people a voice. And I know when there was like, so I was doing a lot of the podcasting stuff, and then I started to do this playlist, and it's still to this, like, that graphic with all the I was trying to highlight like Black musicians in hardcore. That playlist graphic is like the most liked thing on our Instagram now, like by hundreds and hundreds of anything else that we've done. And I remember Alex like hitting me up and being like, "Oh yeah, like Arrold's Black," and sending that my way. And I was just curious, as someone in a newer band, if there was like people that you feel like were not like token following because like you were Black, but do you think that there has been a shift in that, or has it just been like um just like, oh yeah, I do fuck with the music? Because that's what I've heard from some of my friends, as far as like, yeah, like it's hard because I have to kind of suss out like, okay, are you here for the music, or are you here for some other
Right.
reasons?
I mean, we I would hope that people would just fuck with the music, but like, um, I don't know how to like weed people out or, see what their intentions really are. But like, um, even on the band accounts for like Instagram and Twitter and stuff, if I'm posting, like I'm 100% me, like keep it as real as possible. And either you fuck with us or you don't fuck with us. Like I don't give a shit. um, but like as far as since the album has been released, like the feedback that we've gotten has been really just awesome to hear. Um, but I don't know if people are like, yeah, it's because he's black. But like, I think, I don't know. I don't know. It's weird.
It is very strange because like half the time, if you just close your eyes, it's like you can't really hear on record if
Yeah.
someone's the color of someone's skin. Like I'm sure even you could argue that with like more femme vocalists, like oh it's a higher register. It's like, well, have you listened to any of the early Knocked Loose stuff? Like
Right. Yeah.
there's tons of that. So um I think like it's also weird just being like, oh, I have these artists because like it makes me feel better. But I'm like, it didn't even matter to me. I'm just like, yep, these riffs are sick. The
Yeah.
lyrics are sick, and so yeah, that is something that's like, it's a weird thing to hear that actually exists out there as far as like people supporting when it's just to feel better about themselves.
Right. Like another thing that happened to me recently, I bought a bike and like had it for like 2 weeks, chained it outside, and just it got stolen like middle of the night. And I posted on Twitter like, "Yo, I'm doing discounted photo shoots to help buy a bike." And instead of people booking me for photos, they just started donating, and like it was surreal, like it was awesome. But I was also like, are they helping because they're like they care? Like it was really hard.
Oh,
um I'm thankful as hell that it happened, but like because obviously I have a new bike, and like just thankful that people were reaching out and caring in that way. But I also was like, I'm scared, or not scared but worried that people are just doing it just because, help a black boy out. And like I don't want to, I don't know, I didn't want to, I wasn't asking for donations anyway, and I didn't
right.
want it to be like that. And so it's kind of two-headed sword. I feel like
Yeah. Yeah, because
yeah,
yeah, you're like, I'm not asking for handouts. Like, I want to earn it. Like,
yeah,
give you something in return. But yeah, if someone's just like, hey, man, I just, I am in a position where I can do that, and that's sick too. But yeah, that
yeah,
is, like you said, a double-edged sword and
right.
cuts both ways. So, um,
But
as
again, very thankful that people helped, because like I bought a bike that I didn't think I was able to ever afford, and like still cry about it when I think about it, but it's whatever. But yeah, I didn't want it to. I don't know. It's just a weird time.
yeah, no, that is fair, and I think like trying to just normalize the whole aspect of like what this whole movement is about is just like just a level playing field. Like
Right.
there's not special treatment that's people being asked, and if people just can't get it through their heads, I think I saw this on Instagram where it's like, if you just can't get it through your heads that it's not about just like trying to have a one up, it's because you're racist. Because we as white people have that one up because that's how the society has set it up that way. So it's like just trying to level the scales. That's
Right.
really all it is.
That's
Um,
all it is.
so you were mentioning like film photography, and obviously like that's a passion of mine as well. Well, maybe not so much on the
What?
film side, but just like photography in general. I do have I have a disposable camera in my fanny pack, which is in the other room.
Behind
Um,
you.
yeah, I do have this weird thing that I bought. Here, I'll try and scoot back and grab it. My dog is sleeping, and I don't want to wake him up.
Don't wake up the doggy.
Maybe you can actually tell me a little bit about this. So it's a Concord. I'm not sure what it is. But
Wow.
the film goes in here. I'm pretty sure. So I think I can get it on Amazon, but it's like a crazy amount of money or something like that. But um,
Is it, I don't want to like sound like an idiot, but it looks like 110 film. Is that what that is?
I think it is 110 film. I just liked how it looked, and it was like $3. So I was like, I'll just put it on my shelf.
Spend it.
I know you got one on your wall there as well. What's
Oh
that?
yeah, this is my girlfriend's. It's actually a uh, I don't even know what it's a 35 millimeter camera, but it's like one of the ones from like the 40s or something like that.
Does it have a tripod mount on the bottom?
It's actually just a box.
Oh,
It's a yeah, it's literally like the viewfinder is this little red like see through whatever this is,
okay.
and like there's also a waist level finder on it. It's I have not tried it out just because it's been on her wall for God knows how long,
Yeah.
and I don't want to like run a roll of film through it.
Well,
Film's expensive.
yeah. So maybe let's go down that path. Just tell me how you got into that and what you shoot with and get nerdy
Yeah,
with me.
I nerdy. Let's do it. I My dad gave me a film camera before I moved out here, and it was a Canon 81. And he had it for years, just sitting in a basement and or a garage. There's no basements in California, but got it out of the garage because he built a room in the garage. Yeah, and yeah, like was like, here's a camera before you move, and I was stoked. Didn't know what it was, and just kept shooting digitally, and that kind of sat on the shelf. And then one day I was like, man, I'm gonna look up how to use this thing, and um, like started shooting with that and a Mia 1000 that I was using at the time, and just like was like 35 millimeters, so cool. And then someone was like, you should try medium format, and I was like, what? And like, you should try point and shoots, and like just now I have a bunch of cameras, and I have a fridge like shelf full of film, and like I shoot it, I bring it on my paid portrait shoots, and like I will do both and just have the option to have both, because like with digital I'm always like, how do I make this look cooler than it is coming out of camera? And it was always like emulating film. And like there are some stuff where it's like the film stocks go with like colors, like as far as like skin tones, and like I could talk about this for forever. Like I love
Good thing you're on a podcast.
went from hardcore music to film photography. Let's do it. Yeah, no, I love it. It's yeah, film is just so cool, and like the pictures you get, I feel like with a film camera are like genuine. There's no like take 1,000 shots and pick 10 or 15 of the ones you like. It's like what's out of camera is what you're getting. Like the film stock is the colors that you're getting and that are represented from the picture you took. And it's like, why would you want to shoot with anything else? And like, I don't know, people are focused on like, oh, the sensor is this full size camera sensor is like amazing, Sony Club, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I just scanned this thing at home and it looks like shit, but I love it and I'm gonna post it. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something just the raw, like authentic nature of film that just can't be replicated with a digital um it, fill in the blank, whatever it is.
Right.
Do you but there is something to be said with digital where you're like, okay, if I don't get it the first time, I can check and then we can adjust
Yeah.
and you know, it we have I think photography's progressed where it's like film is like it's like this godly nature, like it has its value and
Hmm.
digital can't get there, but digital is used in so many different
Yeah.
industry spaces. So yeah, it's a weird balance. Have you ever done any film at a hardcore show or a show of any kind?
Yeah. There are some, especially in California, with like bigger, uh, I guess, bigger amphitheater shows or whatever. Like they won't let you bring in a DSLR, so it's like point and shoot or disposable camera or something with a fixed lens where the lens doesn't come out because they don't want you to. I don't know if it's like they don't want you to carry drugs in the camera or something like that, but like the lens has to be fixed for bigger events, and just bring like a Fujifilm like extra film like disposable camera having like 3 of those in your pocket and just like shooting, 36 shots per camera, and then having like, 15 from each that are like, these are dope, these are out of focus, these are weird, like, yeah.
Yeah, no, there is something to be said where it's like you're bringing in this huge thing, and someone's like, Wait, what are you doing?" When you could like
Yeah.
literally just put this in your pocket
Boom,
and
pocket,
then
good to
just
go.
whoop. Which is crazy because like every live event now has like everyone's got like an iPhone fill in the blank and can take
Yeah.
really really good photos. So it's more like the bigger lenses for digital
Mhm.
that can like get those far, if you're in the nosebleeds but you can still feel like you're close to the stage. Those are the
Yeah.
intimidating cameras because it's like whoa, what's this giant thing coming in here?
Is that a gun? No.
Yeah. Straight up.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
what do you have a do you shoot digital as well with
Yeah.
majority of your stuff?
Yeah.
What camera brand are you what team are you a part of?
Um, I got rid of my big DSLR, which was a Canon 60 Mark II, and like I still have the lenses that I can use on my Elon 7. Um, so that's a film camera, Canon film camera that has an EF mount system, so you're able to use both lenses. But um, for my digital setup, I'm just using a Fuji X100F, like little guy. I think I had it. No, it's not over here. Can't get it. It's a little like it looks like a Leica camera. It like has a fixed 23 millimeter 23 millimeter lens. And since it's a crop sensor, it's a 35 millimeter f2, and I use that religiously. It's so small. It's less intimidating, especially with like models and stuff, because like having the 60 with the battery grip and a 35 millimeter L lens that's like that goes out this far, like with the camera, it's just like it's a little less bulky and a little less like whole face coverage when I'm shooting. And like this little guy is like it's a rangefinder type camera, so it's like the side of my face, and I'm able to interact with the people I'm shooting with still. I don't know. It's nice.
What's the biggest thing that you could share as far as just like coaching people when it comes to like posing, whether it is with like a model or like a couple, like whatever it is? Because I know that does take some time to develop that as far as like knowing the poses, but also ultimately just making people feel comfortable.
Right.
Hey, we're hanging out, but I got this giant thing in front of my face, so we're not actually making 100% eye contact.
Right. Um, I start off all of my shoots by asking the people that I'm shooting, like, what is their good side? A lot of people take selfies. So a lot of people, especially now, like if you're not taking a selfie, you probably don't have an iPhone, or like a different phone. But um, everybody has a side of their face that they prefer when taking their own picture. And if you're able to say, a lot of people have their front, like they're like dead on, like that's the way I look. And a lot of people are like my left side because I have, a neck tattoo, or the right side because I have this cool earring. Like it's you find their side that they're comfortable with, and usually it's like they're posing right away in that position, they're more comfortable, and then you're having a conversation with them is like, you know, um, I know people that are like, I don't like my smile, don't capture me smiling, and I'll get them to smile anyway because like we're hanging out like on a photo shoot. You know what I mean? Like people aren't. I think people take themselves very seriously, and like they also with that they also have like things that they dislike about their body and their face, and it's like capture all of it, let them see themselves through your lens rather than their camera on their phone, and just like run it from there.
Yeah. Are has there ever been a time where someone's like, "Oh, what's a good side? Oh, it's this," and you're like, I actually think it's the other one."
No, like I even I wish no. I uh if someone has a good side, I'm gonna capture all sides anyway. Um like it's just starting off in the position that they're comfortable with is like a good ease into then continue, because no one that I shoot is like a model. Like they're all either friends or people that I've shot with their friends, and like I I I haven't like worked with like an agency or something like that. Like it's all people
Right.
that want to see themselves, and like photography for me is all about like empowerment and like with portraiture. So even if it's female, male, dog, product, like it's how do they want to be perceived? Like that's another thing that I'll ask in the booking process. Like are you trying to, be like powerful feeling? Like you just want to feel sexy? Like what are the intentions of the photos that you want, and then work from there.
Mm, yeah. Have you shot a lot of dogs as far as photography goes? Because I know there's
Yeah.
there's a number of different challenges with that as well.
Yeah, it's if
As
you
I
usually
scratch
the
my dog
owner.
right now.
I wish I had a dog. I was petting a dog right now. That'd be sweet. Um, yeah, no, I have shot quite a few dogs and their owners, and not their owners, and just the dogs. Like
Mm,
it's it's all about being able to communicate like with the owner, like, yo, can this dog sit still? Is there like for dogs, it's more like just playing with them, and like there's something about a dog's mouth open that they're just so excited, their tails wagging. You're just like, these are the most photogenic animal. You know what I mean? The cat will be like, "What do you
sure.
want? I'm out." Like
Yeah.
dogs are just happy when especially when they're outside.
Yeah. And
You know,
and half of the time it's like you grab a treat. I'm just seeing if that triggered my dog, but you grab something for them to focus on, and then you can kind of
right?
sway it a little bit. I find like half the time
Dog.
when I'm trying to do a portrait shot and someone doesn't want to smile, like you were saying, it's like you just make them laugh. Like say something really ridiculous or like a dirty joke, and they'll laugh. And like the person looking at that photo doesn't know that you said like penis before or whatever it is, and got them to
Right.
chuckle up. Yeah. Do you have a any stories as far as like saying something like funny to make someone laugh or?
I am. I am a. I'm a weird like. I'm very awkward, as a person. So I think that me just being around someone else, especially when it's like uncomfortable because like we don't know each other, uh, it's just super funny anyway. Um, Not like I'm trying to be funny, but just like okay, I'll just go here and like I don't know. I'm I feel like I'm pretty easy to work with, and the people that I've worked with before have said that. So I would just like to continue to do that.
Yeah. Well, if you ever come up to Calgary, whether it's for Rot or just to hang out, we'll definitely link up and you can take some photos of
Nerd
my
out over
dog.
photos.
Yeah, I'm sure Marty would love to get some snaps done. Really, anything activity wise means he can get some treats. But Errol, we're getting to that point where we can start to wrap up the show. Two more questions. What's the biggest thing that you're hoping that people take away from the As One LP, whether it's a specific lyric, a mindset, or just for people to like the tunes? What's the thing that you're hoping that people take with them as they listen to it and apply to their lives?
Um, I just want people to vibe at the end of the day. Like I want people to hear it for what it is, which is just 10 songs that are different mindsets for each lyric that I wrote, and just spread awareness on certain topics, but also have fun with like fight riffs. You know what I mean? Like I want people to enjoy it, but I also want people to learn. But I don't want that pressure of like school. You know what I mean? Like I want to just enjoy the music, and if you vibe, you vibe. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Educate and but in a fun way. It's kind of like the rolling the TV in to the classroom. Like that's the
Everyone's
album.
stoked as hell. Yeah.
100%.
Oh, we're gonna be able to put our heads down. No, I'm just kidding.
um Errol, the last segment that we do on the show here is just a favorite mosh story. And that's anything off the top of your head, whether it's something that you did, someone hit you, you hit them, something at a rot show, anything off the top of your head, share it and we'll send it off.
um, So yeah, I wasn't prepared for this. No, the one thing that sticks out is I was at a show and it was the last From Autumn to Ashes show. Um, it was there like it was like From Autumn to Ashes, Haste the Day, like back to back, and I just remember being like one of the pits that were happening, and like my favorite part came on, and I was like, oh, this is it, like it's gonna happen. And I just remember opening my eyes and like this foot came right into my face from like this little short guy, just like ninja kicked me in the face. And I remember like falling back and like running to the bathroom and just like having like blood all over my hands and be like, damn, that was sick, but I missed my favorite fucking part. Like pissed. Like you're in the pits, you expect it, but I was just like, man, this part's like it was like atmospheric. It was like the drop before the breakdown happened, you know what I mean? And like I was just vibing, and like the breakdown came in, I turned to the crowd and just fucking bah, and I was pissed. I'm so mad.
You do start to see a couple people, whether it's like two-stepping the like at the very end of the part before the two-step kicks in, probably for those
Yeah,
reasons now that it's like if I go right when it happens, it could just be over for me.
exactly.
Yeah.
I could die.
Yeah. 100%. Well, Errol, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. As soon as I heard the first song off of Rot, I knew you guys definitely had something with this LP, and I am a firm believer. It's just like as far as putting out new music during this very weird time we're all in. So, shout out to you. Shout out to all the rest of the Rot boys. You can go listen to that really anywhere right now as far as streaming, Bandcamp. You guys still have some vinyl that people can pick up as well?
Correct. I think we have like 10 of one color and like 50 of another. I'm not 100%
Okay.
sure on the stats.
Well, if you're listening to this in 2021, you probably missed it. There might be a repressing by then or whatever it is.
Right.
But awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show and jamming with me. This was fun.
Thank you for having me, man.